Chapter 5 Separation of Substances.
Introduction. All living and non-living things in the universe are made up of matter. We as human beings constantly use a large number of materials. Some of these are pure substances, while others are mixtures. You must have heard your parents insisting on buying pure things such as pure milk, pure spices, and pure ghee. This is because many times some harmful impurities are present in these substances. While these things in their pure form are important to us, you will be surprised to know that almost all the substances you use are mixtures. From the air you breathe and the water you drink, to the food you eat and the clothes you wear, everything is a mixture. Most of the times we use these mixtures as they are, but sometimes we need to separate their components for various reasons.
What are pure substances and mixtures? In scientific terms, a pure substance is made of the same type of particles, whereas a mixture contains different types of particles. Substances such as iron, gold and copper are pure substances in which all the particles are identical. Substances such as drinking water, milk, paint, stainless steel are mixtures because they contain particles of different types. For example, lemonade contains water particles, lemon juice particles, sugar particles and salt particles. When you drink it, you can feel the taste of all these on your tongue. Constituents of a mixture show different properties. These properties can be used to separate the components of a mixture.
Why do we separate mixtures? Components of a mixture are separated for many reasons. Some of them are as follows. 1. To remove undesirable or harmful substances. For example, before cooking, your mother separates the small stones or husk particles from the raw rice. A strainer is used to remove tea leaves before drinking tea. 2. To obtain a useful substance from a raw material. For example, metals such as gold and silver are obtained in the form of mixtures from the earth's crust and are then separated from it. 3. To separate different useful components of a mixture. For example, cream is separated from milk by churning it. How do we separate mixtures? Different methods of separating mixtures are used by us. Use your knowledge to find a way to separate the following. 1. A green chili from cooked poha. 2. Fruits and vegetables from a shopping bag. 3. Sand from water. 4. Pebbles from sand. You notice that different methods are used to separate different mixtures. Components of a mixture can be separated based on their individual properties such as size, weight, and behavior towards magnet or solubility in water. From a bag containing cricket balls and tennis balls, you can separate the cricket balls by picking each one with your hands. But you can't use the same method to separate salt from pepper. This is because cricket balls are bigger in size and few in number, so you can easily pick them up. But salt particles are too small and too many to be separated by hand. Let us learn about some methods of separation.
Handpicking. Handpicking is a method where components of a mixture are separated with hands. This method is used when the components are big enough to be picked with hands and few in number. For example, handpicking can be used for separating small stones from rice or pulses. This method is also used to pick tea leaves from tea plantations. Threshing. Threshing is used to separate grains from their stalks in the farms. Usually, a stalk of wheat or rice has many grains attached to it, and it is impossible to separate each grain by hand. These stalks are dried and then beaten against a hard surface. The impact breaks the grains from the stalk and husk. Earlier, threshing was done manually by hitting a bunch of stalks against a hard surface. Nowadays, it is done with the help of kettle or with a mechanical thresher. Winnowing. The threshed grains have lots of impurities mixed with them. These include seed coverings and dry leaves, which together are known as chaff. These are separated by the method of winnowing. In this method, the farmer takes a mixture of grains and chaff in a winnowing basket and stands on a level higher than the ground. He lets the mixture fall to the ground slowly. The grains, being heavy, fall straight to the ground in a heap. The chaff is lighter and floats in air before falling down as a separate heap. Winnowing is more effective in the presence of slight breeze. Sieving. This method is used when a mixture is solid and contains particles of different sizes. A sieve is a mesh of wires with holes in it through which particles of a particular size can pass. Size of the holes in a sieve can vary depending upon the size of the particles of a mixture. For example, if we have to separate a mixture of rice and salt, we will pour the mixture in a sieve with very small pore size and shake it. Salt particles will pass through the sieve, but the rice grains will not pass. Sieving is used to separate small stones from wheat and other grains. It is also used at the construction sites to separate pebbles and stones from sand. Magnetic separation. This method is used for solid mixtures when one of the components is attracted by a magnet. For example, if you take a mixture of iron fillings, small iron pieces, and sand in a bowl and bring a magnet near it, the iron fillings will get attracted to the magnet and can be removed. Sedimentation and decantation. In the above activity, you actually used two processes, sedimentation and decantation. The process in which the rice settles down to the bottom of the bowl is called sedimentation. It is defined as the process in which heavy solid particles settle down at the bottom of the container in the mixture of a solid and a liquid. The solid that settles down is called the sediment. The process where you throw the water slowly by tilting the bowl is called decantation. It is defined as the process of removing a liquid from the above sediment in a mixture. This liquid which remains over the sediment is called the supernatant liquid.
Similarly, you can separate a mixture of sand and water. Can you now guess which will be the sediment in this mixture? Decantation can also be used to separate a mixture of two immiscible liquids. For example, if there is a mixture of oil and water in a container, oil will form a layer on top of water. It can be separated by decantation.
Loading. Sometimes small solid particles remain suspended in the solution. For example, in a solution of clay in water, only heavier clay particles settle down. Very fine clay particles do not settle down. To remove them, a lump of alum is suspended into the solution. Alum particles dissolve in water and stick to the clay particles. This makes the clay particles heavy and they settle down. This process is called loading. It is used to clear water in rural areas in the process of purifying it. Filtration. Filtration is used to remove an insoluble solid from its mixture with a liquid. You can watch the filtration process when your mother separates tea leaves from the tea using a strainer. A juice vendor separates the juice from the pulp and seeds by filtration. In villages, water from a natural source is filtered through a thin cloth to remove mud and other impurities. The device for filtration can be a fine sieve, a cloth or a filtration paper. The pores on these devices are very small so that any liquid can pass through them and the solid remains behind on the filtration paper or cloth. The liquid obtained after filtration is called filtrate and the solid left behind on the filtration paper is the residue. Evaporation. Till now we have learnt about mixtures which contain insoluble solid in liquid or two immiscible liquids. How to separate mixtures which have a solid dissolved in a liquid?
In the above activity, water gradually evaporates, leaving behind salt. You can speed up the process if you heat the salt solution on a low flame. This process of conversion of a liquid into its vapor by keeping it open or heating it, not boiling it, is called evaporation. During evaporation, the particles on the surface of the liquid take up heat from the surroundings and change into vapor. This process continues till the time all liquid is evaporated. Evaporation of water takes place all around us. It is used to obtain salt from seawater. Seawater is stored in large shallow fields and left for days. Gradually, all the water evaporates, taking heat from sunlight, and the salt is left behind. This salt is collected and then purified. It is then mixed with some more substances to make it fit for eating. Hence, a soluble solid can be separated from a liquid by evaporation. However, in this method, the liquid cannot be recovered. To recover the liquid, we have to carry out condensation of the vapors of the liquid. The process of conversion of vapors of a substance into liquid form is called condensation. If you keep a steel lid over a pan of hot water for a minute and then lift it, you will observe water drops on the inner surface of the plate. These are formed by the condensation of water vapor rising up from hot water. Distillation. To recover a pure liquid from a mixture, the process of distillation is used. In this process, the mixture is heated to evaporate the liquid. The vapors of the liquid are collected and condensed to obtain pure liquid. To carry out distillation, a special apparatus called Liebig's condenser is used. The mixture is heated in a round bottom flask connected to the Liebig's condenser. The vapor of the liquid move into the condenser and change back into liquid state. This liquid is collected in a separate container. This method is used to obtain distilled water. Distilled water is pure water. This method can be used to separate a pure liquid from a solid which is dissolved in it. It can also be used to separate mixture of two miscible liquids if there is a difference of minimum 20 degrees Celsius in their boiling point.
How to separate components of a given mixture? To separate the components of a mixture, you have to first study the properties of its components and then devise a method for separating each component. Let us understand it with the help of an example. How do we separate a mixture of sand, salt and iron fillings?
Looking at the properties of these components,
we observe that iron fillings are attracted by a magnet. Salt dissolves in water, but sand does not. So, we devise our method of separation in the following steps. Bring a bar magnet near the mixture. The iron fillings will stick to the magnet. Collect them in a separate container. Repeat the process until all iron fillings are separated. Now add some water to the mixture and stir with a glass rod. The salt will dissolve. Filter the mixture with the help of a funnel and a filter paper. Filtrate will be the water containing salt and the residue will be sand. Finally, allow the water to evaporate by keeping the container in sunlight or boil the water off to recover the salt. Hence, you can separate all the components of the mixture. Solutions. In the earlier example, in step 2, we added water to dissolve the salt. This type of a mixture is called a solution. A solution generally contains a solid dissolved in a liquid.